Hey, Michigan Maniacs. This is the Michigan Football Rant, and I am your host, Adam Brewer. This is the reaction episode. Now, before we get into it, guys, one thing of housekeeping that was new, or will be new going forward, and I had been kind of debating if I should do it or not, just because I do feel I'm old, and I just don't know how TikTok fits me well. But I was told from somebody I was hanging out with that my reaction should be in clip form and my instant reaction to some of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is instant reaction episode type stuff, clips on TikTok will happen after every game, maybe during, depending on how crazy it is. Just to get my TikTok thing going, because I would assume that's going to be one way to grow the podcast. And I really want to grow this thing. I want it, as you know, it's my dream and my hope, that my goal to be the best Michigan podcast that isn't associated, I guess, fan podcast, I would say. So that's my goal. That's what I know I can do. So that's one of the things I'm just going to be doing. So I will make it available, my TikTok. I'll get that all set up. I think I have it. I just don't know what it is right now because I half-assed that so bad. So we're going to do that. Anyways, getting on to some of the things before we get into the game. What did I tell you about Oregon? I told you. Now, Oregon will probably get it together just like I hope we do. All this kind of stuff, fine. I get it. But they were supposed to have a Heisman contending quarterback this year. They were supposed to have this amazing offense. I mean, you expect to see Michigan struggle on offense when you replace the full offensive line, replace your quarterback, replace your running back, all that kind of stuff. You expect us to have at least some rust, some tripping up, some things like that. But this amazing Oregon offense, this team is so next level. We've never seen anything like this. And then they were up 17-14 and barely held on to win 24-14. And if it wasn't for an interception, then the Vandals were driving. Who knows what this could have been? So funny. It is so funny because I told you guys. I just can't wait to see my Oregon friends because, like I said, give us shit. That's fine. We looked like Dookie. I understand that on offense. Fine. We're going to get into that in a minute. But let's compare. Let's compare what's going on. So, told you guys about that. What I saw in college football this last week, the last couple days, because it's been amazing how having so much college football spread out over like the last couple days. It's just been fantastic. I mean, I am loving it. But what I've seen is some teams needed to break off the rust, and then the second half kind of figured it out. You know, like the Iowas, the Georgias, Oklahoma State, Michigan. And I even said I'll throw Oregon in there because they did kind of pull it together late. But still, they had to knock off the rust. A lot of rust on these teams coming out, but figured it out. And I'll even take out Oregon and Michigan in that group because we really didn't figure it out. We just kind of outlasted the other teams. But really, like Iowa, I was laughing at the Iowa score until later. That was impressive. Georgia, they look scary. I mean, their team speed is pretty phenomenal, and it's noticeable. I mean, Clemson just is they're still a good team, and they just ran off the field. It was embarrassing, really. Oklahoma State didn't really watch, but it looked like they didn't really figure it out until the end. The teams that, in my opinion, look the best so far in college football, Miami, wow. That Cam Ward, that kid is for real. I mean, this is the Miami team that they've been dreaming of over the last 5 to 6 years. This is what they've been dreaming of offensively, right? This kid is impressive. Now, granted, do we know, is Florida crappy? Are they good? What's going to go on with Florida? Probably they are a mid to lower SEC team because the SEC looks scary this year. even more so than last season. But this SEC conference looks scary this year. And Florida's at the bottom of this. I mean, they're mid to bottom. So will Miami continue this against other teams? They play in the ACC. I really don't see any real trouble for Miami coming up. Maybe Florida State if they figure out what the hell they're doing. Penn State, go figure. I think what Penn State did against West Virginia was impressive in one way is that you could see more creativity, I think, in the offensive play calling. So, and that makes them a little bit more dangerous than expected, right? Because it just wasn't the boring Penn State offense that you're so used to seeing. Now, is that just because West Virginia isn't as good as we thought they were going to be? Maybe. So, week one, you never really know what you're going to get. You never know what the future holds. Some teams degress as the season goes on. Some teams improve. It all just depends on what you're going to find, right? So I think right now, though, Penn State really impressed me. Offensively, defensively, let's face it, they're still good. Georgia, like I said, looks really good. Now, I don't count teams in this who I think look good when you play like a Furman and you blow them out 76-0, when you play whoever, Akron or Chattanooga or Arkansas Pine Bluff or whoever else these other teams played. So Oklahoma, I don't care what you did. Ohio, don't care what you did. Tennessee, I don't care what you did. Ole Miss, I don't care what you did. Alabama, I don't care what you did. I don't. You're supposed to beat these teams 63-0, 76-0. You're supposed to do that. That's why you recruit at such a high level. That's why you are considered one of the top teams in college football. You are supposed to destroy teams like that. So that's a net zero. I could care less. I take nothing negative from it. I take nothing positive from them beating up on these teams. You're supposed to do that. So when you're supposed to do something, I learn nothing. We learn nothing from it. But in the adverse, look at like Oregon playing down to Vandy. Look at Michigan playing down to Fresno State. You learn some things when you see a big team that should blow other teams out when they play like shit against these guys. You can say, "Oh, look at the hole here. Oh, look, we didn't expect that. Look at that." It's more of a telling, learning experience when you see a big team play down to a team they should blow out, right? And I want to tell you, Oregon should be nervous next week. They got to play Boise State, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's Boise State. Boise State's running back ran for, off of 20 carries, 267 yards rushing, and 6 touchdowns. Holy crap. Holy crap. I don't know what Oregon's defensive line looks like. I was supposed to be great. I don't know, but we're going to find out because holy crap, that's an impressive stat line. So, man, maybe we'll be talking about how Oregon just really isn't as good as they thought. And all those pundits who picked Oregon, watch how fast they jump off the boat this week. And look how much all the pundits will get on the edge of the boat this week. After that result, they're like, maybe they, first week jitters, blah, blah, blah. But if they lose or look like shit against Boise State next week, watch them jump off that Oregon boat like it's the Titanic. It's going to be glorious. I can't wait to watch that happen. Dude. So teams that I think looked like shit that were supposed to be good. Well, one of them, just in my opinion, will never be good, but that's just because I hate them. Michigan State looked like just dog shit. That Child's kid, there's something about his eyes that freak me out. He looks like he's constantly terrified in his eyes. I don't know what it is. Maybe his eyes, there's something about it that I don't know. Just whatever, it's very uneasy. Minnesota stinks. I mean, I don't know why everybody thought they were going to be so good. Oh, blah, blah, blah. They played North Carolina. Big deal. And I think North Carolina's starting quarterback got hurt, and they still lost. So Minnesota, the same Minnesota we've always expected. And Wisconsin, I wasn't very particularly impressed with either. But what I was impressed with, Kyle McCord. We should have gone in the transfer portal and got that kid to come play for Michigan. Holy moly. Ohio fans must be kicking themselves right now. Okay, I know they're all in love with Will Howard right now. Against Akron. Now I didn't watch the game, but so I don't know exactly when they pulled Will Howard, but he went 17 for 28 for 228 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not bad, right? Not a bad little start. But compared to Kyle McCord on a worse team, Kyle McCord went for 27 out of 39 for 354 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. My God. So funny that they ran this kid out just screaming about how bad he was and how average he was. And I almost guarantee you like that. I like to build in ways out. But you know what? I guarantee you he's going to have a better season than Will Howard's going to have. And Will Howard has light years better offensive weapons than McCord has. It's going to be hilarious. I really wish Michigan would have grabbed Kyle McCord. That would have, chef's kiss. Could you imagine if we had Kyle McCord right now and he put up those type of numbers against Fresno State? Dear God, that would, that's stuff that just dreams are made of. I really wish we would have done something like that. That would have made it so much easier to talk about this game. So let's get into that game. All right. So a few takeaways. I'll go takeaways I saw on defense, takeaways I saw on offense, and then, some just general thoughts as we break down what we saw. Okay. First, we'll get the special teams out of the way. We have Jake Moody 2.0, right? This kid, Zapata, is wow. It's like he's a robot. He just goes out. Now, granted, this is one game, but I never felt so secure with a man going out there and kicking the ball after he destroyed that first kick. Like he killed that ball. And then he goes in and kicks a further, I think it was a 53 at first, and then he kicks a 55 out of his 3 field goals. The first one was was like 40-something, I think, right? But still, for this kid, a 45-yard field goal is a chip shot. I mean, he looks so good. So it makes me very, 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 just makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel good, makes me feel secure. Everything that Jake Moody made me feel like, this kid is giving me those vibes right now. Right? Real secure vibes. Love it. Punting, I think he seemed to do all right. There wasn't anywhere I was like, oh my God, what is Doman doing? Which he was solid all last season. So I expect the same from him this season, right? He had a few off games towards the end of the year. I think that Bama game was not good for him from what I kind of remember, but who cares, right? This is a new season, new Doman. I'm telling you, I have high hopes for our special teams. It looks like that's a real positive for us, something we don't have to worry about because there's a whole lot we got to worry about when it comes to this offensive team. But defensively, let's just go with that. Defensively right now, I thought the defense looked great. I'm not so sure about these rotations because at one point in time, whatever these defensive rotations are, you don't have Will Johnson, you don't have Jameer Hill, you don't have. I even think our defensive tackles aren't even out there. You've got Benny and Brandt, I think was the other guy. I want to say. And then you have Hall and McBurrows, I believe, are the other two when Johnson and Hill aren't out there. Hall I like a lot. I really liked what I saw from Hall. Hill, fantastic. I love how aggressive this Hill kid is. You heard it through all the podcasts leading up to this first game about how he is just kind of aggressive and built different as a cornerback. And you know me, guys. I love me a very aggressive, hard-hitting corner like the Rod Woodsons of the world. I stinking love it. So this dude really hits me in my feels when I see a cornerback, that one hit, when that running back turned, and as soon as the ball got there, Hill got there. Whoo, buddy, that made me feel good. Like, that really, wow. That brought the vapors, as they say. That was fucking awesome. I loved it. Thought that was fantastic. So I love how aggressive he is. He's fast. He isn't scared. That's what you absolutely have to have when you're playing on the opposite side of Will Johnson. Which I thought was kind of crazy is that Fresno State came right at Will Johnson, which I think is fantastic. I love the fact that they did that because with Texas coming up next week and with the one play that they should have had a touchdown on where the kid did a double move on Will Johnson and kind of got that separation, but the ball wasn't placed very well. I watched part of that Texas game, and that's exactly what they do. So Will needed to be tested right off the bat. Will needed to be kind of shocked into reality to be like, I got to focus constantly on every play. And he did. He was aggressive. He looked great. We really could have the two best cornerbacks in college football. That really if that doesn't make you excited, I don't know what does. Because at every point on our defense, we looked fantastic. Wesley Walker, fantastic. I mean, aggressive, sure tackling. Hall, sure tackling. Makari Page, I think, got an interception or almost interception. Fantastic, right? We have Benny looked great. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant both looked fantastic. Our defensive edge rushers, come on now. Stewart and Derek Moore. Derek Moore didn't get credit, but Derek Moore pushed a few plays right to Josiah Stewart. I mean, what are you going to do with this defense? And then you've got literally, and I thought they were kind of full of shit. I knew that Barham was going to be really good because I watched him play last season when I watched a bunch of Maryland games. So you knew he was going to be good, but my God, they really are correct. This comparison is the best comparison I've heard of Barham. He's a taller Devin Bush. He's a taller Devin Bush. Holy shit, are they right? He can move. For somebody that tall, he can truck it, boy. Like, that was impressive. And then Houseman, just probably overall the best best linebacker, like, because he's fast, he breaks down well, he reads the play really well, like, he tackles well, he's got everything you want, right? And that, no wonder why Wink Martindale slapped the little green dot on him, and he's the guy that's the mouthpiece for Wink out on that defense. Not a shock by me. I think made a fantastic choice. Now, what I wonder when it comes to this defense is some of that rotational stuff just to throw off Texas. Is that rotational stuff or all that blitzing? Because one thing we do know about Ewers, and maybe not all of you guys know it, but I do, only because I live here in Austin. So that's all you hear about is Texas football, and for good reason. They're a fantastic team, and he's a great quarterback. But the one thing he doesn't do well with is when he has to guess where the blitz is coming from. When he can see it, know it, when it's an obvious blitz, then he does very well with it, right? He excels at it, actually. But when he doesn't know, it terrifies him. His numbers drop, his percentages drop drastically, down into the 30s, I think it is, when he doesn't know where the blitz is coming from. Because I think he gets so worried about getting hit that he doesn't focus on the pass route. But when he knows when that bad boy's coming, he knows exactly what to do. He knows where to focus, that kind of thing. If he doesn't know where it's at, he worries more about the rush than he does the pass route or the play. So I think Wink was trying to get into his head because they're going to watch this tape and he's going to see it. I think this is what we like to call mind fucking. Because if you look at the face of that quarterback, Mikey Keene last night. He looked as if he saw 30 Michigan players coming at him all the time. He threw the ball just like what we saw last year in Michael Penix. Michael Penix got super scared too. And what was Michael Penix doing last season? He was throwing the ball high. That's somebody who is trying to get the ball out as fast as possible and not really going through setting your feet, doing all the things necessary you need to do because Michigan was coming. He could feel it. And sometimes you don't always have to hit the quarterback to get him scared, to get him to see ghosts, get him to just panic. All you have to do is be around. Have him hear you grunt. Have him hear you swipe right past him. Just that kind of shit. Almost got you. That kind of dude, that kind of stuff where people are just flying by him and making him feel uncomfortable, that's sometimes all you need to do. And then throw in 1 or 2 sacks. I'm telling you, Wink knows what he's doing. I think people need to chill out with the blitzes. This man has been... He's, first of all, the architect, the OG of this defense. He's been in the NFL longer than we know. He's had way better defense. So he has top-notch defenses in the NFL. Don Brown has never done that. So let's stop comparing him to Don Brown solely off the basis that he's an old white man. I mean, that is level of ignorance that I can't even believe. Oh, old white man, defensive coordinator, blitzes a lot. Same dudes. Nope. Sorry, not the case. Don Brown has never gone to the NFL and had a number 1 defense. Trust me on this. Wink Martindale knows what he's doing. Maybe he's just trying to mind fuck Texas. Did you ever think about that? Maybe he's just throwing all sorts of blitzes out there against Fresno because he knows that Clint Ewers is going to have to watch this all next week. And that's going to be in his head. So maybe he's just trying to set something up for the next week. Let's give him more of a chance to... I mean, the man deserves the respect and the grace to be like, let's see what happens. I mean, if Wink Martindale doesn't deserve it, then who in the hell does? Let's give him some grace here, all right? It's going to be fine. And plus, are you upset with what we did? Oh, they scored a touchdown in the late, I think it was in the third quarter. Granted, our offense looked like dog shit, but still, on a second-team rotation, not a starting cornerback or dime back, overplayed the play, and the guy ran in for a touchdown. On the second team, not the first team, second team. Zeke Berry looked great. Talking about dime backs, Zeke Berry looked fantastic. Now, I would assume the things that we will miss that Mikey's gone is the leadership qualities, but we don't know yet. Let's give these kids some time. Maybe Zeke Berry is a vocal leader in that team. Maybe Jason Barham is a vocal. Let's just figure out what these guys do. The leadership stuff will come, right? But what we saw from our defense is fantastic. I mean, let me go over. Did I hit everything? Yeah, the TJ guy stuff. I mean, granted, it was a weak roughing the passer call, but still, there is no reason, absolutely no reason to push the quarterback. Play was already long. The ball was long out of his hands. No reason to touch him. None whatsoever. You want to get into his head, that's fine, but you don't need to push him like that. Get into his head, fine. I get it. Like I said, you can get into his head by doing a lot of those things. Now, if that was a second earlier, right, he was that much closer and he throws the ball and then you push him, fine. That's getting into his head. But you wait 2 full seconds, which is an eternity on the football field, 2 full seconds, and then you push him to the ground, you're going to get called. Granted, it was a bullshit that you didn't push him very hard and he just fell. Fine, I understand it. I'm not saying that the severity of the hit deserved the penalty, but I'm just saying there was no reason to push him in to begin with. It was just dumb. No need to do it. And I think Guy had another penalty that fucked us too at the end of the game. I mean, how many times In one series, have you ever seen one series have two interceptions that are called back because one it wasn't really an interception, then two for a stupid penalty, and then another penalty. It just was such stupid like mental shit that if you want to be a true starter on this defense, you can't do dumb shit like that. We can't have mental lapses like that when we play Texas, when we play USC, when we play, God forbid, Michigan State, when we play Ohio, when we play Oregon, when we play any of these fucking teams. You can't have mental breakdowns like that. It's dumb. It's stupid. It doesn't need to happen, because then let's say you do that against the USC. You give them now a first down in the red zone when they could have just been maybe a longer field goal or a punt. We're going to lose games like that to USC if you do stupid shit like that. So TJ Guy, you want to get on the field, dude? Get your head out of your ass and don't make dumb plays like that. That's just dumb. Now moving on. Let's first say this. The offense needs to go up to the defense, get down on their knees, and beg for forgiveness for the way they went out and they played like that. It was awful. Now listen, I say that, but I'm kind of upset even with myself, because I said if we get a Cade McNamara type performance all season long by a quarterback, then that should help us get to the playoffs. And I got exactly that, and then I'm upset about it. So I'm kind of being putz when it comes to that, because that's exactly what we got from Davis Warren. I mean, let's not forget the first two games of Cade McNamara's starting career with Michigan was the first one against Western Michigan, where he threw for, I put it down, 9 out of 11 for 136, 2 touchdowns. All right, but we did win 47-14. Okay, so a little bit better score, right? But he had a much more solid offensive line then. But anyways, and then the next game we played Washington, who had a really good defense, and he only threw for 44 yards. So Davis Warren, 15 out of 25, 118, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That is classic Cade McNamara from 2021. So I got exactly what I asked for, and I'm still unhappy. And I think the reason why that is the offensive line looked like a bunch of fat women just slap fighting out there. That's what they looked like. Dom Gadis, my paisan, it looked like he was dropping it like it was hot, trying to twerk his way. Like, he thought if he twerked on that 3rd and 1, like, that was the best way to get things done. He looked like Tina from Bob's Burgers out there instead of the starting center for the Michigan mother effing Wolverines. I don't want you to look like Tina. I want you to look like a man out there and move the fucking defensive line forward. I don't want you twerking your way backwards into our running backs there, paisano. Let's move some people. That's why you got the starting fucking job, buddy. Not to drop it like it's hot, dick face. Knock somebody out of the way. And then 2, we got the center and guard staring at each other like, oh, I thought you got him. No, you didn't get him? Oh, I didn't get him. Well, who got him? You know who got him? The defensive tackle sacked our quarterback. Like, what are we doing here? That's the main reason why we looked like dog shit, is that offensive line had no clue what was going on. Well, right in the middle. Thank God for Crippen to come in and kind of settle everything down. Paisano, I wish, until you can get it together, until you can stop doing your best Tina impression, take the bench. Let Crippen come in and just take care of some things. All right? Let him settle things down for the beginning of the season, because Crippen will be able to handle the communication better, so you don't have Gadis and GL El-Hadi, or whatever his name is, that you both don't know what's going on. You both are just starting. You both have no clue what's happening. And you're both staring at each other like, oh, I thought you got him. At least Crippen has been a stabilizing force for many years. for this offense. Surprising that he hasn't transferred out. Let him go in and settle things down. All right. Then if Paisano wants to make his way in midway through this season, then God bless him. Let's hope he's to that point. But right now against Texas, we don't need the who's on first routine of Michigan offensive line. We don't need that. We don't need that Abbott and Costello routine between our center and tackle or center and guard. We don't need that. We're going up against Texas. Granted, Texas doesn't have a great pass rush, but still, neither did Fresno State. We don't need that shit. Okay? I don't want Abbott and Costello. I want solid offensive line play. And the one bright note to that, or bright side to that, is that I really, truly believe that Grant Newsome and Sharon Moore will get this team settled, focused, and moving forward and gelling as an offensive line as we go on. I really do believe that. I am giving grace to that because I really do believe that that tandem as a head coach and positional coach will get this shit done. I really do. So right now I'm going to bitch about how bad they were because they were bad. Let's face it, Donovan Edwards already struggles at being the man, right? At this point, it seems like. Even last season, and he looked just like he did last season in this game. So he doesn't need an offensive line who's working on their improv skills, their improv comedy skills, instead of trying to block the opposition. All right? We don't need a center trying to twerk his way into everybody's hearts and a fucking offensive guard who just now sees one person, now doesn't see him. We don't need that. He needs somebody to knock the living shit out of someone, open up a truck-size hole so he can feel confident enough to run his happy ass through it. That's what he needs right now. So let's help him out. To be quite honest, if it was up to me, this is what I would do to kind of settle things down with the offense. And if these other players want to make a run at it later in the season, if they continue to get better, then God bless them. Let's give them a chance. But now hear me out on this. We sit Paisano over there, Goudis. We put Crippen in. We sit Edwards, or just bring him in situationally, right? And bring in Mullings, and then sit Eminem over there, Davis Warren, sit him down, and bring in OJ. I'm not OJ. OJ, yeah. Let's bring in a real killer. No, let's bring in Orgy. Now, the reason why I say this, and I think they need to take the majority of the snaps, because Orgy and Mullings are two players I think get better when they have more snaps. I do not see, and it was proof last night, that if you just keep swapping Davis Warren and Orgy in and out, Orgy will never become a better passer because he needs to have multiple reps throwing the ball to get into a rhythm, because he skipped that ball awful. And I think even if you go back and you watch the spring game, he started out rough, but the more he got relaxed in that game, the more he was able to know and feel secure in the fact that that was his team, he played, in my opinion, much better. So Orgy needs the reps to get better, to build that confidence. And so does Mullings. I think Mullings hits his peak performance once he gets to about 15 to 17 rushes. And then anything after that, he's lubed up and ready to go, right? And I think when you use this battering ram type of offense, I really do believe you're going to see us then be able to bring in the specialty guys, and then that has loosened up the defense enough so then, like, the Edwards of the world can take advantage of a defensive line. And I'm going to compare it to a team that I've hated my whole life. But if you really look at what they did it right. And it didn't matter what team they played. It didn't matter what kind of offense the other team had. It didn't matter anything because they dared you to stop it and you couldn't do it. And the more you tried to stop it, the more they beat you up. And by the time you thought you had gotten everything done, you were so exhausted, they just took you behind the woodshed and beat the life out of you. And that is Nebraska in the 90s with Lawrence Phillips, and for the life of me, I can't think of their quarterback now. But, Scott, no, frick. Anyways, now I'm not saying we should do the option by any stretch of the imagination, because you all know how I feel about the option. But with a running quarterback, the RPO would be perfect to batter ram these fucking teams into submission, because you give Mullings and him the option to read off of what this defense gives you, and their defense is now forced to tackle not just one person who's over 220 pounds, but now two people who are over 220 pounds, and one of them can throw when he's in rhythm. I think that's the best way to get our offense back on track and to get us to win some of these games that maybe we might not have a chance. Because I'll be honest, I knew there was at least 2 losses out of these 5 games. Texas, USC, Washington, Oregon, and Ohio. I knew there was at least 2 losses in there. When I first looked over the schedule, I thought we could beat Texas. I felt pretty good about it because I've seen Texas play quite a bit, and I think what they do, we can defend pretty well. And I don't think Texas's offensive line has ever seen or played against a defensive line like ours. So I think that's going to be a real, real problem for Texas. Anyway, so I thought we could beat Texas. I thought we could beat USC. Like I said, Washington made me nervous. And Ohio makes me nervous. I don't know what to really feel about Oregon. I think we're going to beat Oregon. I have no real respect for Oregon, but I didn't know. It's at home, so I felt like we could win that game. I felt that was a very winnable game for us, actually. Matter of fact, I think it's more of that we'll win it by 10 or more before going into this game or going into this season. Now, I don't know how I feel about Texas right now, because I don't know what the fuck they're going to do on offense. If they continue this flip-flop, let's bring them in every other play, we're in deep shit against Texas, in my opinion. Because Davis Warren can't get into he can't get into a rhythm. Orgy can't get into a rhythm. And then if our offensive line is still doing improvisational comedy instead of trying to block, or if they're still trying to twerk their way onto Yo MTV raps or whatever the fuck these guys are doing out there, we're going up against Texas. They will continue to make all of the offensive line look like Tina from Bob's Burgers if we don't get serious about that. So the one that will help a struggling offensive line is a mobile quarterback. Davis Warren is not mobile. He's not. So let's help them. So let's put in Orgy and Mullings and just bully these dudes and keep pounding it, and then dropping off slants and quick hits to Loveland because he's the man. Let's start doing that. Let's start using him in ways that Georgia used. It's amazing. If I don't write down some of these names, I forget it almost came to me. But we all know that tight end from Georgia. Amazing. I was all over. I thought he was the greatest, and now I can't remember his name. Holy moly. But let's do that. Let's beat them up. And then when they start pulling in more people into the box, then we hit them down deep, not even deep. Let's give them 15-yard slant routes, that kind of shit with our wide receivers. We can do exactly what Nebraska did, but modernize it. And trust me, I watched Nebraska humiliate great college football teams for a decade. doing the most boring fucking offense on earth, but they were so committed to it, and they just knew you couldn't stop it because it took more physical effort to stop what they did than what you were willing to give. And in the fourth quarter, yes, it might have been a 17-10 game, but guess what it ended up being? 38-10. 45-10, 52-10, because towards the end of the third and going into the fourth, that defensive line finally just gave out. And they couldn't take it anymore. The linebackers gave up, and they just couldn't take it anymore. And that's when Lawrence Phillips would hit 15, 20, 50-yard touchdown runs. That's what we need to do right now. We need to become a battering ram and beat the ever-loving piss out of these people until they give up, because that's the only chance we have to win any of these games. If we keep doing this flip-flopping bullshit and having our offensive line do improvisational comedy, oh, did you get him? No, I got him. Who's on first? Who's on second? That guy's on third. Woohoo! Look how funny we are. We're great. And if they're impersonating and improvisationalizing what they think offensive line play is, we're in deep shit. So if they're going to continue to do that, then we need to have two people who can take it on their shoulders and move the line themselves, and that is Orgy and that is Mullings. We can't trust Edwards to do it. He still wants to dance around and run headfirst into a wall that there's no hole. So, and then Davis Warren looks like J.J. McCarthy, but moves like fucking Cade McNamara. So we don't need that. That's going to get us 2017 vibes. That's going to get us John O'Corn, rebirth type shit. We don't need that. So if I was Sharon Moore, I'm benching both Edwards and Davis Warren for this Texas game and for the rest of the season, and just bringing in Edwards when maybe a 2nd and 5, a 3rd and 2, maybe a 3rd and 10 when you're going to make it a passing package type thing. And I would then just throw the ball relentlessly to Loveland, beat him up with the RPO, and just hope that our defensive line just plays way better than the other defensive line. Our defense plays way better than the other team's defense, which most of the time it's going to. It's going to be better than USC's defense. It's going to be better than Washington's defense. It's going to be better than Oregon's defense. And there's only one other defense in this big fucking 10 that we play this year that's even comparable to ours, and that's Ohio. So if we just do this, we can be very, very successful. But if we keep flip-flopping these motherfuckers, we're going to lose. So it's on them. I don't know if they want to be successful, but I want us to be successful, and that's the only way I see it happening. So let me see if I hit everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, there's only one other thing, and I don't know. There's two other things, really. One is Tuttle. I know everybody's thinking, well, what if Tuttle comes back and he's healthy? I don't know. Maybe. But if we do switch to Orgy and we do switch to Mullings and they start building steam, they start really getting confidence, I don't know if I'd want to mess with that. So Tuttle may have injured himself out of any type of playing time this season. And then two, Fresno looked really good against us because we helped them look good against us, but also the first game of the season, when you play a good team, they're not great. We should have beat them 45-10, like I said. We totally should have, but they have a whole month just to focus on us. Just like I hate the bowl games and the playoff games because it's the same process. I hate that. You get a whole month to try and figure out a team. I don't like that. I like the playoff system where you're going up against a team every week. It's a weekly breakdown. That's what really tests the mental ability. The whole thing of a team is the weekly what can we do type thing. Also, too, I'm not happy with the performance, right, of these quarterbacks. But also, I understand that this was not an ideal start for them in this way. And let me make my case, right? Football is very performative. right? It's obviously athletic, all that kind of stuff, but you're going out to perform. You need to be in your best mental state to perform, right? If you're Davis Warren, you haven't started a game ever in college football. Your first start is a night game against Fresno State where everybody and their mother up until the point of this kickoff has said, we don't know what the fuck this guy can do. Saying throw Orgy into this, but I'm using Davis Warren as the example. We don't know what he can do. He looked like dog crap every time he's come into for J.J. McCarthy. We don't know what he can do. So that's been out there, right? He just came out. People are already doubting, Orgy couldn't keep the job. Davis Warren did it. A lot of doubt out there. Then you have to sit all day waiting to play. The nerves of that. So like me, I've done comedy shows, and a lot of the comedy, well, all comedy shows are done at night. So when I first started doing comedy, and even when I came back to comedy, the day of the show is nerve-wracking. Especially when you know you haven't been on stage in a long time. You know you're going to be rusty. You don't know how you're going to interact if no one's laughing, if it's delayed, whatever, right? All that stuff just sits in your head, and you think about it constantly all day long. And then it starts to build, the anxiety builds. You're like, okay, it doesn't feel so bad in the morning, but you know it's there. By midday, you're like, okay, I feel okay about this. I can do this. You try to talk yourself into feeling good. Then it gets within 2 hours of the game, 2 hours of the show, and it's really getting into. And then all of a sudden, you're going on stage, and you're like, fuck. Sometimes I go out there and I hit it out of the ballpark, and I'm like, holy shit, I've never felt so good on stage. I'm fucking killing it. Everything I'm thinking of is just funny, and it's coming out perfect. It's adding to the jokes I already have. I'm a comedy god, you feel like sometimes. Or then there's sometimes you go on stage and one thing doesn't go right. And then another thing doesn't go right. And then another thing doesn't go right. And now you're spiraling, trying just to get your shit back. So I don't blame Davis Warren for having nerves and probably not looking the best that he wanted to look, right? I don't blame him for it. But when you are a national title winning team, you will have huge questions coming in for the next season. You want to get back to a playoff. Sharon Moore will be graded on all these things. He doesn't need you to be less than. He needs you to man up, sack up, and do it. Now, every other game, I think he'll be fine if he gets that chance. However, if I'm Sharon Moore, I'm not giving him that chance. I understand. I get it. All of it might be contradictory to everything I just said. That's fine. But I understand nerves. I do. I understand those nerves. But I also, it's just not on Davis Warren. If this was only a Davis Warren problem, then I might think differently. But we have an offensive line that, like I said, they're improvising what they think offensive line play looks like. They're not good yet. So Davis Warren doesn't have the skill set we need to get us past this problem. That's why I am an Alex Orgy fan in this solution. Now, if we had a solid offensive line and it was only a Davis Warren problem, then maybe I would be like, well, let's give him a chance. Because these reasons and why I just stated that, this is the reason why I think, get him into a noon game where he's already got things out, got all the nerves out of the way. Now he can build. Now it's a noon game. Now you're boom. Now you're playing. Now you're going. And if he continued to be in his head and he continued to shit the bed, then let's go to the Alex Orgy, right? But this isn't a Davis Warren problem. The main reason why Michigan football offense looked like dog shit last night was the offensive line was fucking awful. 100% awful. So no matter what quarterback you have, it's going to be hard. So if that's the case, let's get the guy in there who can run and get out of trouble instead of a guy that runs like Cade McNamara. That's all I'm saying. And with that, let's get out of here. This has been one fantastic episode, guys. Oh, like I said, I will be doing some TikTok stuff for instant reaction type things, just to kind of grow my profile, and my my reach, all that, whatever social media buzzwords you want to use. But guys, it is great to be a Michigan Wolverine, even though it was a slow start. I think there's a lot that we can do better next week. I think it's great, that we have Texas next week to get us focused on the season, to get everything now to be real. We got the shit game out of the way. Now let's start playing for Texas, get this offensive really, really moving, getting going. It's great. It is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. And always and forever, guys, go blue.